what's going on, Chancellor Maverick here. Welcome to another ArmA 2 editor tutorial. Today we're going to have a look at the ambient modules. Now, they're pretty easy to use and they're a lot of fun. If you're creating a mission, you want the environment to look a little bit more real and you want to have some actual life going on, I advise you to use those modules. They can be found under F7 modules. Obviously, double click and then you get basically 4, or if you count the ambient combat module as well, you get 5 modules. Today we're just going to look at the first 4, not the combat version. You get ambient animals. This will randomly spawn animals on the map. So sometimes in the village you get rather small animals, sometimes a dog, sometimes chickens. If you go out of a village or a city, you're probably going to see some cows or goats or something like that. Very easy to use, simply place it on the map, you don't have to synchronize it or to code anything. Then the second one is ambient civilians, and then you get ambient civilian expansion. Here you have to be careful on what map you're playing. If you're playing on the standard ArmA maps like Generous or Utis, you're gonna want to use this one because it's gonna spawn Russian civilians. If you use the Operation Arrowhead maps such as Takistan, Sargabad, Shapur or Desert, you want to use the ambient civilians expansions module because that's gonna spawn the Takistani civilians. I have never tested it actually, but I think if you use it the other way around, it's not gonna work. But I'm not sure about that. Okay, so we're playing on Takistan here, so I'm gonna use the expansions version. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the ambient civilian vehicles. This is for both types of maps, ArmA 2 and Operation Arrowhead. And this will just randomly spawn empty vehicles all around the map. First of all, it just looks good. If you're playing a mission, you got some civilian vehicles standing in the villages, you got some people moving around, and other than that, it can be helpful if your vehicle gets blown to pieces but you survive. You can grab one of those in the RTB or something. So this can actually be helpful in a mission. So I just packed those 3 modules on the map. I'm gonna create myself a player. And then what's gonna happen if I preview the game, the default module setup will just randomly spawn vehicles, animals, and civilians around the map. Usually somewhere where the villages are, so around buildings, not like just out in the forest or something. Except for animals maybe. So I'm just gonna run towards the city now. We're gonna see what's going on. See on the left side there already a few vehicles. We got a truck, another vehicle. It's just the default version now. You get some civilians walking around. The vehicles sometimes spawn at the craziest places. So sometimes it's like in a building compound, you know, where you can't even drive out without blowing up a wall or something. But that's just how the game logic is creating those spawn areas. As you can see, there's quite a lot going on now. We got a few vehicles, we got a few civilians. Civilians sometimes they walk around, so just this one. Sometimes they're just standing somewhere. Sometimes they're even like talking to each other. Sometimes they're in buildings. Sometimes outside of buildings. Yeah. So as you can see, it's like just it's more alive. And as soon as you start combat, they're gonna run away, they're gonna go prone, they're gonna hide in buildings. So they do actually respond to what's happening. As you can see, those two are starting a conversation. Say what? So very easy to use and a lot of fun if you play a mission. In the second part, I'm going to show you guys a bit of coding, so a way to modify the modules to your preferences. Sometimes it's just for fun, sometimes it's actually necessary. personally I experienced problems with those modules also on the regular maps if I used a lot of different modules at the same time. So if I used, for example, UAV or ULB in combination with high command, some ACE modules and all that stuff, then for some reason I didn't see any civilians or any vehicles on the map. I'm not sure what the problem is. I haven't found like a proper solution yet, but I'm gonna show you a way that kinda helps. Same problem if you play on user-made add-on maps, such as here, for example. This is Sanchin Valley, excellent map created by an ArmA 2 fan, by a user. And sometimes on those maps the standard modules don't work. I'm not sure what the problem is, if it's just like how the module settings are created, if it's just focusing on the original ArmA maps, or I can't tell you what the problem is, but sometimes they don't work. What you can do then is create a town logic that will like limit the spawn area of those civilians or vehicles, and then it seems to be working fine. It seems to like prioritize those modules so they're not like, yeah, they're not like dismissed, you know, behind everything else. Okay, so what you do, you create yourself those modules again. Then what you need is a town logic. Very easy to create. First of all, you have to create a player, otherwise the category is not going to be available. You go to site, game logic, then locations, unit, city center. Okay, and then you spawn a thing like that. I already created one before. Important here is you have to name it. Here in the name field I just called it T1 for town 1, because the module has to have this name as a reference. Then you're gonna go to your module and you can type the a few code lines which are like parameters for the module. I'm gonna copy this, or I'm gonna post this this code in the description of the video, so you can find it there and copy paste it into your mission if you want to use it. Right here I just got a few of those codes, just the ones I need to modify the module to my preferences. If you go on the BIS Forums or something, if you just Google ArmA 2 Ambient Modules, you're going to find detailed information. There are a lot of different parameters you can actually set. I haven't gotten into it very far yet. I just picked out the ones I need. So you're going to enter this code, and here on the top, important, set variable town list, and then you see here T1. This is the name of the town logic I created before. This has to be correct, otherwise it's not going to work. Otherwise the module will not recognize the game logic, the town logic, and cannot spawn those units. So here you have to be careful. Then you get spawn distance. I guess this is like, as I've said yet, to 1000 meters. I guess this is like the radius around the game logic, around the town logic, where civilians and vehicles will be spawned. And then here the rest is like the amount of civilians. I'm not sure how the formula works. Somehow the module is gonna like scan the buildings, scan the amount of buildings, the amount of enterable buildings, and based on that it's gonna spawn the amount of civilians. So the higher the numbers here, the 5 for example, and the 0.5, the higher those numbers, the more civilians will spawn. The lower those numbers, the fewer civilians will spawn. So this is very easy to create, and based on that you can spawn those, or you can use those modules on specific locations. Alright, so there's a different code from the civilian module and the vehicle module. I'm gonna copy, or I'm gonna post both of those codes in the description for you to use it. They work pretty much the same way. Here you get road distance. I guess this is the distance to the next road where the vehicle will spawn. It's set to 20 now, so I guess the vehicles will spawn maximum 20 meters away from roads. This might help so they won't spawn like in the backyard or something. Also here the coefficient If you use a higher number, you're gonna have more vehicles. If you use a lower number, you're gonna have fewer vehicles. Also here on the top, important, in the town list, you have to type the name of towns you have created logics for. I've just set it to 1 now. I can easily add another town. Just copy paste the logic, place it, rename it T2 for example, and then on your module you go to town list T1, comma T2, and I do the same thing for the vehicle. And like that I can basically add infinite town logics. Yeah, but I don't advise you to do that, because the more civilians you have on the map, the more AIs you have on the map, the more your CPU will be challenged, the more it has to perform. So this is also good if you play like just in a region of a map. You can have civilians spawning on 2 or 3 towns and not all over the map, because the more AIs you have, the more, or the slower your game is gonna get. Okay. Alright, I guess this is all I have to say. I hope this works for you as well. Thanks a lot for watching. Please check out my other editor tutorials, my ACE tutorials, or whatever the hell you want to see about ArmA. It's all on my channel, and a few other videos as well. So please check them out. Show me some love by liking this video right here. Comment if you want, and please subscribe to my channel. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys soon. Maverick out. Ambient modules. They're pretty easy to use and they're a lot of fun. If you're creating a mission, you want the environment to look a little bit more real, and you want to have some actual life going on, I advise you to use those modules. You get ambient animals. This will randomly spawn animals on the map. So sometimes in the village you get rather small animals, sometimes a dog, sometimes chickens. If you go out of a village or a city, you're probably going to see some cows or goats or something like that. Hey, what's going on, Chance with Maverick here. Welcome to another ArmA 2 editor tutorial. Today we're going to have a look at, they can be found under F7 modules. Obviously double click and then you get basically 4, or if you count the ambient combat module as well, you get 5 modules. Today we're just going to look at the first 4, not the combat version. Very easy to use, simply place it on the map, you don't have to synchronize it or to code anything. Then the second one is ambient civilians, and then you get ambient civilian expansion. Here you have to be careful on what map you're playing. If you're playing